Hi everyone, JD here, CEO of Sight for White and White Sense, and it's been another eventful week here at Millbrook House. We're still smiling after the celebrations of the 50th anniversary of our Talking News service, and it was such a special day. It was filled with familiar faces, laughter, and memories that stretched back through 5 incredible decades. We were honoured to welcome Susie Sheldon, the Lord Lieutenant of the Isle of Wight, who shared some beautiful words about the impact of Talking News and the dedication of everyone who's kept it going over the years. It was also lovely to see our former CEO Lisa, who spoke so warmly about the project and the difference it's made to people across the Isle of Wight. I've really enjoyed meeting so many individuals who have been a part of that journey. Hearing their stories, learning how the project started and grew and evolved over all these years. It's truly inspiring to see just how much care and creativity has gone into every chapter of its history. Meanwhile, work has still been continuing around Millbrook House with engineers, gas engineers and contractors, landscapers in and out all week. We've had our boiler replaced, so finally it's a little bit warmer here, and we're still planning our activity space development and our sensory garden as well. So just a note on that is if there's anything that anyone particularly likes and thinks would be useful and lovely to have in our new sensory garden, please do let us know and get in touch. It's always good to get feedback from you all and have that dialogue open, because this is very much a place for you as well to enjoy as best as you can. As we look ahead to the winter months, there's a real sense of excitement in the air. Plans for festive activities, gatherings, and those little moments of warmth that remind us why community really matters so much. And after a week like this, it's really hard to not feel proud about how far we've come and hopeful for everything that's still to come. I look forward to talking again with all of you very, very soon. Take care.
Charity news, week commencing 17th of October. There is no swimming at Medina on Monday due to the school holidays. Our next session is on Monday 3rd of November, where new members are very welcome to join us.
There will be no yoga until the new year due to volunteer unavailability.
Coffee and Chat is on Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment.
Mix and Mingle is on Thursday at Millbrook House. We have a waiting list for this group, but if you are interested, please call the office to put your name down.
Our pudding and quiz evening on Friday, October the 31st, here at Millbrook House. The cost is £5 per head and maximum teams of 4 people. The quiz starts at 7 p.m. prompt. Please call the office to reserve a space for your team.
We would like to thank everyone who taking part in our sponsored cycle ride, RIED, the White, for the whole of September. We raised over £1,200 and cycled over 700 miles between us, volunteers, staff and members. If you would still like to donate, please call the office. Every penny helps the charity, helps island residents.
Our annual Christmas raffle is underway, and we thank everyone who have already returned their raffle tickets. Prizes are arriving at Millbrook House, but we are always grateful of any prizes anyone wishes to donate. If you would also like more tickets, please do not hesitate to call the office, and we can send more books out in the post. The draw takes place on December 10th during our festive morning.
Our Christmas cards are also available, selling fast this year with several designs already being sold out. There are only £3.50 for packs of 10, so once again please call the office if you wish to order. The planned college lunch on November the 28th is now full, but if you would like to put your name down on the reserve list, please call the office.
This is Brian reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Island Police Officer named National Response Officer of the Year. An Isle of Wight police officer has been recognised with one of the highest honours in UK policing. PC Greg Blaise, part of the island's district policing team, has been named the National Police Chiefs Council NPCC Response Officer of the Year 2025. He received the award for his outstanding contribution to both his community and colleagues, demonstrating exceptional professionalism, dedication, and long-term commitment to frontline policing. Acting Chief Constable Matt Boyle, NPCC Response Policing Lead, said, PC Blaise's dedication, professionalism, and unwavering support for those he serves exemplify the very best of our profession. Chief Constable Alexis Boone from Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary added, PC Blaise is a credit to the force and we are proud to work alongside him. His dedication and commitment have been rightly recognised. He truly reflects our values of putting victims first, pursuing criminals relentlessly, and delivering exceptional local policing. Superintendent Rob Mitchell, Isle of Wight District Commander, said, PC Blaise is a highly respected member of our island response team. His passion for policing and his commitment to keeping our communities safe are extraordinary. We're very lucky to have him. The NPCC Response Officer of the Year Award celebrates officers across the UK who go above and beyond in their role, protecting the public, supporting colleagues, and embodying the very best of modern policing.
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Derelict hotels and missed cash. Sandown controversy sparks political clash. Political leaders on the Isle of Wight have hit back after a community group accused them of letting Sandown rot. Together for Sandown criticised council bosses and MPs for the town being left out of the government's £5 billion Pride in Place regeneration programme, calling it a failure of political leadership. The group said Sandown faces the exact crisis the scheme is designed to tackle and called for an urgent appeal to government ministers. Council leader Phil Jordan acknowledged that parts of Sandown face real and pressing challenges, including deprivation and neglect, but stressed the Pride in Place funding isn't intended to repair privately owned buildings. He said government awards are based on their own criteria, aimed at long-term community investment, improving public spaces, boosting pride, and creating economic opportunities. Joe Robertson, Isle of Wight East MP, echoed concerns over Sandown being left out. He highlighted the recent ICON report, which ranked East Wight as the second most left behind constituency in the UK. Robertson said he has been lobbying ministers and working with local groups on projects including the Sea Pool, rewilding education and Sandown Town Hall for young people. The MP also raised Sandown at last week's Conservative Party conference, where plans for 100% business rates relief for shops and pubs were announced, a move he says could make a meaningful difference to the town's high street. Robertson concluded that Sandown's exclusion from Pride in Place has strengthened his case to government and promised to continue pushing for the funding and support the town deserves.
Hello, this is Steve with a story from Isle of Wight Radio with the headline, Council backs plans for visionary sea pool at Yaverland. A proposed tidal sea pool at Yaverland has taken a major step forward after gaining the backing of the Isle of Wight Council. At a Policy, Finance and Resources Committee meeting on Wednesday, October the 9th, councillors voted unanimously to support the project in principle, allowing the Isle of Wight Sea Pool, that's the IWSP group, to start seeking funding. The council also approved a letter of intent, confirming its willingness to lease council-owned land for the pool subject to planning approval, a robust business case and further public consultation. The proposed location is a 70-metre stretch of foreshore near Culver Parade, within the G to H section of the Yaverland Sea Defences. IWSP Director Sue Barker described the plan as a unique, low-maintenance, sustainable and accessible seawater facility free for the public all year round. It will promote healthy lifestyles, community engagement and appreciation of our coastal and marine environment, a celebration of the island as a UNESCO biosphere. The Isle of Wight was awarded Biosphere Reserve status by UNESCO in 2019, recognising its unique mix of nature, people and places. Council leader Phil Jordan, chair of the committee, said, "This is a visionary project that aligns with our goals for sustainable tourism and community well-being. The sea pool could become a landmark attraction for the island, and I'm pleased we're enabling the group to take the next steps." Councillor Ian Ward, the Sandown South representative, added, "The sea pool is an exciting opportunity to bring something truly unique to the island, supporting health, well-being, tourism and Sandown's regeneration. I look forward to further engagement with the community as plans develop."
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Islanders invited to join Great Coastal Birdwatch and celebrate migratory arrivals. Islanders are being invited to join this year's Great Coastal Birdwatch from the 18th of October to the 2nd of November, celebrating the arrival of thousands of migratory birds along the Solent. Now, in its 7th year, the Bird Aware Solent initiative encourages anyone visiting the coast to spend up to an hour spotting and recording different bird species, from dark-bellied Brent geese and oyster catchers to red-listed waders such as dunlins and black-tailed godwits, and to share their sightings online. Last year's event recorded around 100 different species, including ospreys, lapwings, and several red-listed birds. To mark this year's Birdwatch, a series of free guided walks and coastal pop-ups are being held across the region, including in Lymington, Fareham, and on the Isle of Wight. Eloise Mott, Bird Aware Ranger, says, "Watching thousands of birds arrive on our shores each autumn is truly breathtaking. These migrations are not only a wonder of nature, they're a reminder of how important this area is for wildlife. By sharing migratory bird stories, we hope people will feel inspired to look out for them and give them space to rest and feed undisturbed." Among the birds most likely to be spotted are dark-bellied Brent geese, travelling 3,000 miles from Siberia. Around 10% of the global population spends winter on the Solent. Widgeon ducks, one of the most numerous ducks in the region, recognised by their chestnut heads and creamy head stripe. Oyster catchers, bold black and white birds with bright orange beaks, seen feeding noisily on shellfish. Black-tailed godwits, elegant Icelandic waders known for their long legs and straight bills. Dunlins, small, fast-moving waders arriving from Scandinavia and Russia. Little egrets, distinctive white birds with black legs and yellow feet, seen by almost 3/4 of participants last year. Cormorants, dark, unmistakable birds, often spotted drying their wings on rocks and posts. BirdAware Solent is a partnership of 19 local authorities and wildlife organisations working to protect the Solent's internationally important bird life, covering coastlines from the New Forest to Southampton Water, Portsmouth, Chichester and Langstone harbours, and the northern coast of the Isle of Wight.
This is Chris reading an article from the Island Echo. Whitelink and RMT reach agreement to withdraw industrial action ballot. Plans for potential industrial action involving Whitelink staff have been shelved following an agreement between the Cross Solent ferry operator and the RMT union. It was confirmed on Tuesday that the RMT has officially withdrawn its ballot for industrial action and is no longer in dispute with the company. In return, Whitelink has withdrawn its original proposal and agreed to continue talks with the union. The dispute stemmed from proposed changes under Whitelink's rostering and operational efficiency project, part of a wider 5-year plan aimed at modernising the business and improving services for passengers. The proposals included changes to crew rotas, working patterns, and operational procedures, which the RMT had argued could impact work-life balance and job security. It is thought the company employs around 500 staff overall, with the original proposal seeking to remove up to 50 roles, approximately 10% of the workforce. However, Whitelink said that more than 30 new vacancies would be created as part of the restructure. In an update, both parties say they are now committed to ongoing discussions aimed at improving the long-term sustainability of the company while enhancing the customer experience. Katie Taylor, CEO of Whitelink, has said, "We're pleased that we have managed to reach this important step. We take our responsibility as a lifeline service seriously, and we are doing everything we can to avoid industrial action, as we know the impact it has on our customers. We will continue talks with the RMT and hope to agree a way forward for changes which are needed to further improve our services, increase flexibility, and to add additional sailings." Whitelink and the RMT say they will continue to work together to find the best possible outcome for both staff and passengers.
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from the Island Echo with the headline 70 Jobs at Risk as RNLI proposes closing Inshore Lifeboat Centre after 60 years. The RNLI is closing its Inshore Lifeboat Centre in East Cowes after more than 60 years of operations, a major blow to local employment and the wider Isle of Wight economy. Staff at the Lifeboat Centre were informed on Tuesday that the facility will be shutting down by the end of 2027, with production set to move to the charity's manufacturing site at the support centre in Poole in Dorset. The decision affects around 70 skilled workers currently based at the East Cowes site, although a final proposal is expected next year following a formal consultation with staff. Established in 1963, the Inshore Lifeboat Centre has been the RNLI's dedicated hub for building and refitting the charity's fleet of D-Class and Atlantic 85 lifeboats. On average, a boat is completed every 59 hours, either newly built or modernised to meet the high standards required by the RNLI's life-saving crews. The centre also became home to a visitor and heritage centre in 2018, offering free public tours and showcasing the RNLI's long-standing presence in East Cowes. The decision to close the Isle of Wight facility is said to be due to the expected demand for production falling by a third in the future, meaning there will simply not be enough work to justify two facilities. Being an older, smaller facility, it's estimated that the East Cowes ILC will require around £5 million of capital investment to remain compliant, while Poole is a newer, larger and more capable site. In a statement, Ross Barraclough, the RNLI Chief Engineer and Technical Director, said, "Use of the sea around the UK is changing. Our data shows 98% of all RNLI rescues now are within 10 nautical miles of the shore, compared to years ago, when demand was for commercial fishing further offshore. For us to continue delivering our core purpose of saving lives at sea, the charity needs to evolve and respond to the changing demand on our service. Our 2040 lifeboat fleet strategy determines what is needed to ensure we have the right lifeboats in the right locations to continue saving lives into our third century. In response, we need to ensure we can build these boats in the most efficient way, adapting our production delivery to make sure we continue to use our supporters' money wisely and operate sustainably. This change in need represents a major shift in demand for our production teams, with an anticipated reduction of around 82,000 production hours, and whilst it is a difficult decision, we need to consider proposals that will reduce our future footprint and cost base. I fully recognise the dedication and commitment of our Inshore Lifeboat Centre team and understand the impact of this proposal on not only themselves but the wider RNLI family on the Isle of Wight. We will be working closely with them over the next few months to discuss options within this proposal and support individuals. The closure represents yet another setback for the Isle of Wight's industrial sector, removing dozens of skilled jobs from the East Cowes labour market and ending a decades-long legacy of maritime manufacturing on the site. The news comes after a turbulent year for the Isle of Wight job market, with major redundancies announced at Vestas, Wild, Hover Travel, Kingswood, Snow's Isle of Wight, Liz Earle, GTI Glazing and the National Trust, among others.
Good morning, I'm John.
And I'm Mary.
Talking News marks 50 years by Alex Cooper. Sight for Wight celebrated 50 years of reading the news last Friday. The charity's news reading service stems from Geoffrey Smith, a blind man from Knighton, who believed the Isle of Wight County Press should be accessible to everyone. A committee made up of Jack Adamson, Royce Polk, Fred Hodgson, Terry Mitchell, John Primmer and Martin Smith then realised the idea once interest had been declared from over 60 of the charity's clients. Lord Mountbatten, the island's governor, recorded the introduction for the first edition in 1975, which was played out at the 50th anniversary. J.D. Viette, CEO of Sight for Wight, and former CEO Lisa Holyhead thanked the charity's staff and volunteers for making the celebration possible. The charity received a message from the King, sending, quote, his heartfelt, warmest good wishes to all those who have contributed to this publication, unquote. Today, Talking News is available through the internet and smart speakers, although the charity still distributes memory sticks of the recording. The news is read every Friday by volunteers for blind and partially sighted people. County Press reporter Alex Cooper is one of the readers, maintaining the links between the paper and the service.
Group asks why its town is left to rot. A Sandown community group has asked why its town is being left to rot amid a failure of political leadership. Together for Sandown, said residents, have yet again been overlooked after the island missed out on getting any funding from a $5 billion package of regeneration investment at the end of last month. The organisation said Sandown is currently experiencing the exact crisis the Pride in Place programme funding is designed to rectify. They also pointed to Isle of Wight East being the second most left behind parliamentary constituency after Blackpool. While Together for Sandown described Ryde securing the $20 million in regeneration investment through the Plan for Neighbourhoods as positive, the group lamented that Sandown, the area of greatest urgency, has been ignored. In a statement, they said, "The failure of our political leadership, the Isle of Wight Council, and our members of Parliament to proactively lobby and strategically position Sandown's specific crisis has resulted in our complete exclusion from this vital investment. We now call on them to immediately launch an urgent appeal to the government. Together for Sandown dereliction survey, which 1,499 people took part in, found 82% of residents claim to live near a derelict site and that derelict buildings make 93% of them feeling anxious, stressed or angry. In addition, 95% said dereliction is an issue that matters to the community. Last Monday, October the 6th, the group held a public meeting at Sandown's Broadway Centre on Community Benefit Societies, CBS, a potential vehicle for change. Sandown Mayor Alex Lightfoot, who is involved with Together for Sandown, told the meeting, "We've got a number of derelict buildings and one of the questions that always asked is where is the money coming from? The CBS is one potential avenue for addressing that concern. There have been multiple sites that have been for sale just within the last 12 months. The same evening, another Together for Sandown representative and Sandown Town Councillor Ian Boyd said the CBS was a massive opportunity."
19th century fort to undergo repair work. A 19th century fort will undergo a work scheme to enhance its appearance and maintain the building for future generations. Wild Heart Residential Management's listed building consent application for repair works at the Grade 1 listed Golden Hill Fort in Freshwater has been granted consent by the Isle of Wight Council. Dating from 1863 to 1872, the former fortified barracks now comprises luxury flats. A statement from JMD Building Consultancy said, "The applicant wants to maintain the property and avoid water ingress issues and treat cracks in window lintels and sills. The applicant wants to conduct works of a repair nature, but is not seeking to alter the appearance other than renew it in a sympathetic way to the existing." Historic England's official list entry for the fort said, "A fortified barracks with guns on the roof, which covered the rear of 4 coast batteries and accommodated their garrisons in peacetime. The building accommodated 8 officers and 128 men, and had its own hospital." County Hall's decision report on application 25/01210/LBC said the works would result in sensitive repair, helping safeguard the building for future generations.
Vandals destroy a memorial bench. A memorial bench has been destroyed by vandals after being used by walkers on Culver Down for nearly 40 years. The bench, a tribute to Lillian Ada Blake, who died in September 1988, was detached from its fixings and left badly damaged about 2 metres from its original spot. Disgruntled County Press reader Paul Knocker said, "We have been walking there for many years and appreciated the use of this well-situated bench. Only recently have we noticed that how it has been vandalised with the wood used to make a bonfire. One of the National Trust's countryside team found no evidence of a fire in the area of the bench, but confirmed the bench had been damaged. Some slats were missing and part of the lower back rail was damaged. A National Trust spokesperson said, "For safety, our team has now removed the bench and cleared the area. We will contact those who donated it, if possible, to ensure the most appropriate way forward is agreed." Mr. Knocker also raised concerns about other criminal activity. He said, "It is concerning that at this very popular area is the extent of the litter left behind by those with camper vans, including pillows and mattresses."
Ramblers stage protest against access refusal by Alex Cooper. The Isle of Wight Ramblers took to a public square for the final rally protesting against English Heritage's refusal for the King Charles III coastal path to run through the Osborne House estate. The group took to the square outside Waitrose on Well Road, East Cowes, to gather public support for their cause on Wednesday. The protest included a record launch, with island musician Steve Love performing "I'm an Isle of Wight Rambler," his song in support of the cause. The Ramblers are protesting against English Heritage's refusal to allow the proposed King Charles III coastal path to enter the Osborne estate for a 300-metre link between Norris Wood and Barton Wood. The group, holding an expectation that a voluntary agreement would allow access, have held a series of rallies, including outside Osborne House. Campaigners have pointed to examples of other public paths at heritage sites, including Blenheim Palace and Stourhead. Isle of Wight Ramblers publicity officer David Howarth said, "The coastal path could be the biggest tourist attraction. It's an opportunity. It's the King Charles III coastal path, and we are not allowed to go through the royal estate." David hailed the rallies as a success and believed they had made a difference in raising awareness and influencing the decisions to be made. The Ramblers gathered signatures from members of the public before the deadline for submitting representations to Natural England on October 22nd. Osborne House, gifted by King Edward VII to the nation and managed by English Heritage, is exempt to plans for the coastal path due to its status as a registered park and garden. Previously, an English Heritage spokesperson said, "We very much wanted to see if we could find a way of facilitating the path. We appreciate that this will be disappointing to some, and we want to explore with the Ramblers how else we could open up Osborne to its walkers. The comparison made by some between Osborne and the public paths at, say, Blenheim Palace are not all that instructive. Blenheim's 2,100 acres, compared with Osborne's 354, offer a lot more scope for public footpaths to be set well away from the house. At Blenheim, access to the parkland is also closed to the public after dark."
Literary event hosts a wealth of star talent. A wealth of speakers entertained audiences across 4 busy days at the Isle of Wight Literary Festival from Thursday to Sunday. The County Press team were there across the weekend. Here are just some of the highlights. The word raconteur is not only a wonderful word, but perfectly describes the hugely entertaining author and TV personality Giles Brandreth. His latest project, in a long line of fascinating projects, is a study of the Winnie the Pooh author A.A. Milne, who he argues should be known for more than just being the Winnie the Pooh author. Milne had island connections, which Brandreth explored, and he made us all want to find out more about the author's interesting life. Purchases of Brandreth's new book Somewhere, A Boy and a Bear, duly followed. One highlight of the show was when Brandreth revealed the wonderful jumper created for him by the Wroxall Woolies, who got creative after the County Press ran a competition for someone to design the jumper, won by reader Lynn Gregory Phillips. Former Southampton FC defender Francis Benali captivated audiences with an inspiring talk spanning football, family and phenomenal feats of endurance. Reflecting on his Saints career, he recalled facing formidable opponents such as Ian Wright and playing alongside icons Matt Le Tissier and Alan Shearer. Benali's story shone brightest in recounting his charity challenges for Cancer Research UK, from running to every Premier League stadium to combining running and cycling to all top flight and championship grounds, and finally attempting 7 Ironmans in 7 days. Awarding an MBE, Benali has written about his journey in Francis Benali, the autobiography. Sue Barker, tennis pro, Wimbledon expert and BBC presenter, held the audience in the palm of her hand, sharing a captivating recap of her successful career. She said some brilliantly candid insights and stories, and proved thoroughly entertaining. She didn't hold back on subjects including her departure from a question of sport, the characters she met on and off the tennis courts, and how her dedicated coach refused to take any payment from her throughout her career. She then signed copies of her book, Wimbledon, A Personal History. Lady Anne Glenconner, close friend of the royals, featured in many landmark occasions.
Anger as GP clinics move booking systems online by Oliver Dyer and Rufus Pickles. Islanders have hit out at a new online booking system at 2 GP surgeries, calling it wrong and bad for the elderly. The change has affected patients at the Bay Medical Practice, which operates Sandown and Shanklin medical centres. An 83-year-old woman from Lake was left very upset after visiting Sandown Medical Centre to book an appointment in person, only to be informed that only online bookings would now be accepted. A few days later, she received the same response at Shanklin Medical Centre. Dr. Sam Judd, managing partner at the Bay Medical Practice, insists patients are fully supported to access our services in multiple forms, but they are finding this is not to be the case. Posting on Facebook, Jackie Thorley said her father, 96, has been left in a real spin due to the new policy. She said his response was more or less summed up as, "Well, I guess at 96 I've had my life, and they don't care if I die now. So wrong." Abby Bradley said her parents don't have internet, and not everyone is computer savvy. They were happy to ring up or walk up and make an appointment at the surgery, which is far easier. Tiana Eccles expressed her frustration with the lack of support available for patients. She said, "It's a terrible system. They have tablets in the surgery to book an appointment, but there isn't anyone to ask for help. I think Dr. Judd should start looking at feedback and see for himself how frustrating the new system is." Katie Mary Whitewood shared her own difficulties, stating, "I absolutely hate it and find it very frustrating. It puts me off making appointments, which I hardly ever do. And as for the elderly, I think it's disgusting making them make appointments this way." Cilla Fordham said she does not agree with things being forced online and will continue to phone for as long as she can. Mr. Judd said, "We have implemented a system called Rapid Health as part of our moving forward into the future of modern general practice. The system helps to assess clinical needs to direct the patient to the right healthcare professional." He also noted that patients unable to use the online system could call the practice for assistance, and tablets are available at both centres for those who wish to use them. James Roach, Director of Primary Care and Local Care at NHS Hampshire and Isle of Wight, said, "We are committed to ensuring the best access possible for patients in primary care, and the new online consultations offer patients an improved way to access the care they need, whether for describing symptoms, getting advice, or requesting prescriptions. Patients require a variety of ways to access their NHS, and we work with all practices to ensure the new online system is running alongside all other methods."
Luca wins Young Artist Prize. An 18-year-old artist has won a top award for capturing a heartfelt moment with friends. Luca Franklin was named winner of the Isle of Wight Young Artist Award 2025 for his acrylic painting, which reflects a personal memory with friends. Judges praised the piece for its emotional depth and the way it captured a sense of connection and place. Luca of Ventnor said, "I thought it would be really cool to get a wider opinion on what people think of my work. I really enjoyed talking about it with people that appreciated it, which was really nice." The Isle of Wight Artist Award exhibition is open at Key Arts and runs until Saturday, November the 1st. Held in the Claydon Gallery, the exhibition is open daily from 10 till 4, and the showcases work from young artists aged 14 to 25. This is the 4th year of the award, which was launched by Brave Island in 2022 to give young creatives a platform to display their work outside of educational settings. For many, it marks their first experience exhibiting in a professional gallery. Luca received an acrylic award created by Creative Studios. Judges described his piece as a painting that captures quiet, everyday moments and evokes a moment of connection to those close to us and connection to the place we make these memories. 2 works were also highly commended by the judging panel. Alfie Barnes, 21, was recognised for his photography exploring themes of belonging, temporality, and our relationship with the landscape. 17-year-old Donna Sansom was praised for her textile piece, crafted from repurposed denim jeans glued onto card. Brave Island, the organiser of the award, is an online platform developed by Ventnor Exchange to offer free creative opportunities to young people on the Isle of Wight. Young people aged 14 to 25 can sign up for free on the Brave Island website. The platform advertises new opportunities every week, including mentoring, training, paid work and creative commissions. The Isle of Wight Young Artist Award aims to spotlight emerging talent and encourage artistic growth in a supportive environment.
Helping hand for red squirrels at Woodland Project. Red squirrels are getting a helping hand thanks to a new woodland project. Island Roads has teamed up with the White Squirrel Project to improve habitats at Howes Wood in Harding Chute near Ryde as part of Red Squirrel Week. The company donated 4 2-metre drainage pipes to create safe, stable bridges across woodland ditches, replacing makeshift log crossings. Helen Butler, founder and chairwoman of the White Squirrel Project, said, "As a small charity, we rely very heavily on the support of the island community, and we are so pleased with the practical help that Island Roads has provided. Their assistance has provided a real boost to the project, and of course the red squirrel population on the island." Sean from Island Roads delivered the pipes, which were installed with the help of volunteer Rod and Helen using machinery. This week, Island Roads workers Tom and Rich undertook some trail clearing work to provide better access for conservation and educational visits. The support was provided through Island Roads' volunteering scheme, under which staff are encouraged to take 2 days paid leave each year to support good causes. Howes Wood has been bought by the project.
Judges and dignitaries on parade. Judges and dignitaries paraded through Newport for the historic annual Isle of Wight Legal Service procession. The traditional event, to mark the start of the new law year, saw officials walk to Newport Minster from the Isle of Wight Law Courts in Quay Street for a church service on Monday. Presiding Judge of the Western Circuit, Justice Thomas Linden, Resident Judge Michael Bowes, and Circuit Leader Sarah Jones were joined by the High Sheriff of the Isle of Wight, Jacqueline Gizzard. Other judges in attendance included District Judge Victoria Goodfellow and designated civil and family judges Philip Glenn and Melissa Barlow, respectively. The island's Lord Tenant Susie Sheldon, Island Coroner Caroline Summeray, Isle of Wight Council Leader Councillor Ian Dorr, and Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson also attended. High Sheriffs from Hampshire and Somerset, Sue Elton and Janet Montgomery, respectively, as well as representatives from the police, fire service and HMP Isle of Wight, also took part. They were joined in the parade by the island court officials and chaplain Emmy Cooksey. The procession is rooted in medieval Britain, when judges prayed for divine guidance. Newport Minster hosted the service for the second time since its refurbishment.
Southern Vectis has advised bus passengers travelling at night to use a torch so the bus drivers can see them. Bus passengers are being asked to make themselves more visible at stops. Southern Vectis is urging people, particularly in rural areas, to ensure they can be seen by drivers as the evenings become darker. With the clock set to go back on Sunday, October 26, more journeys will be made in the dark. The bus operator is keen to ensure drivers can spot potential passengers at bus stops. Nikki Honer, Southern Vectis Head of Communications, said, "Not all bus stops on the island are lit, especially the ones in more rural areas. Passengers wearing dark clothes and standing still whilst waiting for their bus may not be seen by our drivers." To tackle this, passengers are asked to help by shining their phone lights down into the road in front of them and gradually rotating it as the bus approaches. They are cautioned to avoid shining it directly into the driver's eyes. Nikki said, "We understand that not everybody is able to make themselves seen, as they may not have a torch on their phone. Our drivers will still pay extra attention to help ensure customers are able to board during the darker mornings and evenings."
New group to refine Winter Gardens bids. A steering group will be formed to refine bids for the Ventnor Winter Gardens, a public meeting heard on Tuesday. Ventnor and St Lawrence's Conservative County Councillor Ed Blake told attendees at Salisbury Gardens a new committee was the best way forward and would be entirely transparent. The Packed Out Forum was called after Councillor Blake announced that the Hamborough Group would like to sell the Art Deco style pavilion, which has fallen into disrepair. County Hall has now accepted it as an asset of community value, meaning its owner cannot dispose of it until interested community groups have had the chance to register an interest in buying it. Councillor Blake said, "In the time that I've been a councillor, coming up to 2 years at Christmas, I've had at least 24 potential bidders signify to me that they were still interested in the building. Some of those are pie-in-the-sky ideas, I'd like to say, without naming names. Some of those are credible proposals." Steve Withyman of the Save Ventnor Winter Gardens Action Group and I have spoken about this. Steve created these meetings. We think the best way forward is initially that they all come in through a steering group to refine them. We just want to make sure its bid is in a legible form for us as a community to digest. Then we can come back to another meeting, as many as needed, whether we look at 3 or 4 applications at a time, and then say we like that idea as a community. We want to rubber stamp that. We allow them to go on and speak to the owner. He said it was entirely possible for a community interest company or charitable trust to take over the Winter Gardens. However, Councillor Blake admitted the ACV mechanism does not have particularly strong teeth, stating Kevin Shoesmilk of the Hamborough Group is not obliged to sell the building or put it on the market after the 6-month bidding period. The bidding process is still an opportunity for the community to spell out how it wants the Winter Gardens to be used, however, and how much it thinks the building is worth, which Councillor Blake added might be a bit of a reality check for Mr. Shoesmilk. The prospect of the pavilion being listed was also raised.
NHS will object to estate unless developer pays fee by Rufus Pickles. The NHS has said it will object to a proposed 38-house estate on the edge of a village unless the developer agrees to pay £58,771 towards increasing primary care infrastructure. A letter from NHS Hampshire and Isle of Wight to County Hall said Mr. and Mrs. Isaacson's outline application for the new homes off Rookley's Main Road will put excessive strain on local GP services. Without the requested contribution to increasing infrastructure capacity, the increased pressure will put people at risk, the Integrated Care Board, ICB, said. Waiting times would increase and access to adequate health service would decline, resulting in poorer health outcomes and prolonged health problems. Such an outcome is not sustainable as it will have a detrimental socio-economic impact. In addition, having no or limited access to primary care will have a knock-on effect on secondary health care, in particular on emergency department services, as those people who cannot access their primary care usually will present themselves at the emergency department, adding additional pressure on the already stretched secondary care. The development directly affects the ability to provide the health service required to those who live in the development and the community at large. Without securing such contributions, the ICB would be unable to support the proposals and would object to the application because the direct and adverse impact that the development will have on the delivery of primary health care. The proposed Rookley development would comprise 35% affordable housing and make a significant contribution to addressing the housing supply shortage, the Andrew White Planning Consultancy said. The new homes will be designed to a high quality and there will be a range of unit types and sizes. Significantly, 35% of the new homes will be affordable homes, all designed to be indistinguishable from private market housing. This will assist in creating a mixed and balanced community. Providing housing and associated infrastructure on this greenfield site would sit well with the general shape of the Rookley settlement and would not jut awkwardly into the countryside. Public consultation on application 25/01332/OUT ends on October 24th and the decision is scheduled for December 19th.
Council grants development planning consent. Captivate Homes has been granted planning consent on Wednesday for a contentious 130 development on the outskirts of Bembridge. The developer's plans for greenfield land off Mill Road have been approved with 23 conditions and a legal agreement. County Hall's decision notice for application 23/01920/FUL comes more than a year after the Planning Committee voted for the proposal, which includes means of access, garages and landscaping. The committee voted to approve the plans by 5 votes to 3 at its July 30, 2024 meeting. Isle of Wight East MP and Bembridge Councillor Joe Robertson was a prominent opponent of the bid and, while accepting a need for affordable housing, said the development does not address that need. Captivate Homes CEO Ian Delaney told the meeting there had been lengthy consultation over plans and Bembridge must share responsibility for accommodating growth. The publicly available legal agreement dated October the 14th is a planning obligation under Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990. It relates to highway works, affordable housing, on-site open space, habitats mitigation regarding the Solent Special Protection Areas, a construction vehicle route, financial contributions for local health services and improving Stane Park recreation ground.
Magician's milestone of 1,500 road safety shows. Well-known Ireland magician David Randini has hit the milestone of 1,500 road safety shows as he celebrates continued success in his career. The show, which educates children about road safety through magic, has provided much-needed entertaining guidance to young people on the island and beyond. Mr. Randini conceived the idea for the show following the deaths of 2 island children in road accidents. Since then, he has performed to tens of thousands. He said, "Reaching and passing my 1,500th road safety show is a great honour, and if only one life has been saved, it's all been worthwhile. I look forward to making people smile for many years to come, and you never know, I may make 2,000 road safety magic shows." After a stint helping vulnerable people during the COVID pandemic, he has increased his magician work, performing at weddings across the UK. He honed his craft at 2 island hotels, performing weekend in, weekend out for 10 years. He said, "I'm humbled that people still want me to perform for them, and as long as they keep asking, I'll be happy to do so." Memories and nostalgia, days gone by. The county press has been bringing the news to islanders since 1884. We've delved into the archives. 125 years ago, in October 1900, good weather helped to ensure that ploughing matches at Great Budridge Farm went successfully. A first prize of £2 was on offer to the winner, which proved a success, having 10 more competitors than the previous year. Ryde Football Club won their second Portsmouth Senior League match against Portsmouth Hornets. The match, which was held at Parklands Football Ground at Ratcliffe Avenue, saw Ryde win 3-0.
100 years ago in October 1925, Lower St James Street Ford dealer Frank Chiverton supplied a new Stanley fire engine, which was described as being eminently suitable for small towns, estates and works to Newport Town Council. In addition to the pump, the fire engine was designed to carry 8 to 10 men, an extension ladder, 1,000 foot of hose, suction pipe, strainer and standpipe. The new bell turret at the Church of the Holy Cross, Binsted, was publicly opened in the presence of the Bishop of Winchester, who dedicated the replacement of the former steeple, which was destroyed by lightning.
75 years ago, in October 1950, the Duke of Wellington paid his first official visit to the island when he presented the prizes during the annual speech day for Newport Secondary Grammar School. A tribute was given to Mr. N. Anderson at the second annual dinner of Northwood Cricket Club for his hard work with the Isle of Wight Schools Cricket Association.
50 years ago in October 1975, British Rail Sealink installed a computer at the Isle of Wight car ferry terminal in Portsmouth Harbour to speed up bookings and reduce manual recording. Controversy arose at the proposal for the Winford housing scheme. The agent told the South Wight Planning Committee that approval had been given by the authority in 1972 for a 55-unit development on the site of the old Winford Manor, including high-density terraced and masonette homes.
We now have My View. Right bid or wrong bid, where do our tourists go? Tourists are an absolute pain in the backside, aren't they? They clog up the roads and take all the best spots on our beaches. On good days, you can't park anywhere near the seaside. The queues at my favourite cafes are ridiculous and the harbours are rammed. The island breathes a collective sigh of relief when the kids go back to school in September and things return to normal until Easter. I'm kidding, of course. Who doesn't have family or friends dependent on visitors? Tourism is 38% of our economy. No tourists mean no jobs and no money. Parts of our island are among the most deprived in Britain. Trust me, we really need those visitors. In recent years, we've been losing an alarming number of tourists, and this year we've seen a flurry of job losses and early closures. When visitor numbers drop, business owners are faced with stark choices. Shut up shop early to save money, or stay open and hemorrhage cash for the next 6 months. This autumn, for many, that wasn't an option because they don't have enough in the bank to survive the winter storm. People point to eye-watering ferry fares as the root cause of our woes. Let's face it, they are a fair and reasonable target. But do you think the island's potential is being maximised? Since our white bid-funded Visit Isle of Wight tourist organisation has existed, visitor numbers have declined by 17%. That's £100 million in lost revenue annually. Surely they bear some responsibility for the island's decline. Fairly, it's not just our bid organisation that isn't working. Cornwall's tourism organisation has declared itself bankrupt. Others are failing too. I have a shop in Fleet. Like here, shopkeepers are forced to chip in for the local bid. Many are openly opposed to it. Few see the benefit. The people who run the bid in Fleet decided that bringing in market traders from elsewhere was a great way to promote the town. Bid payers responded, but that means people spend money that goes into other traders' pockets. Our local VIOW is clearly failing and lacks transparency.
The Isle of Wight Observer has reported embarrassing facts, including their appointment of a paid Kent-based chairman. VIOW should have been holding elections for board members, but have failed to do so for years. They have only 27 bid payers who are members, effectively the only ones who can vote and have a say in how the company is run. I signed up to the Anti-White Bid Facebook group, hoping to find some answers, and it doesn't make good reading. When asked how and why those things could happen, their answers were unsatisfactory. Other questions go unanswered, and even simple ones have led to legal letters in response. Because I'm eligible, I decided to stand for election to the White Bid Board. I'm tenacious. If elected, I promise to find out what's gone wrong and work with others to put it right. Cheekily, despite its own failings, VIOW uses its legal powers to make local businesses pay up. Non-payers are regularly taken to court. No wonder so many hard-pressed local traders are cross with them. Unsurprisingly, some have had enough and want to see an end to the whole thing. Currently, I can't see how that will help the island. Surely, we should do a better job of running the existing organisation and ensure every precious penny is spent more wisely. Let's get better bang for our buck, as the mayor in Jaws almost said. The island is a summer town. We need summer dollars. Should the White Bid fail next October, nothing will replace it, and I believe that will be a disaster for local businesses and jobs.
Letters and Opinion by Joe Plum, columnist. Put the heart back into schools and let kids thrive. It's that time of year again when Isle of Wight schools throw open their doors to prospective students, eager to impress with dazzling displays of what school life could be. Explosive science experiments, drama students frozen as human statues in corridors, and a dozen kids strumming Pink Pony Club on their ukuleles. But under the surface of all this excitement, a far bleaker truth lingers. Many of our schools have lost their hearts. Our GCSE pass rates are among the very worst in the country. Meanwhile, 2.92% of Isle of Wight children are now home educated, more than 3 times the national average of 0.91%. Families are voting with their feet. And yet, where is the outrage? Why aren't our MPs or councillors talking about this? While endless time is spent debating flags and ferries, one of the most pressing crises facing our island, education, is slipping further into decline. The Council's main solution seems to be closing schools rather than confronting the deeper issues driving this collapse. Walk around many classrooms today and they all look eerily the same. Teachers have been stripped of the freedom to make their spaces inspiring. Children's work has been replaced by academy slogans and corporate-style mantras. Even our school names have been rebranded to sound more like energy drinks than places of learning. And who could forget Cowes Enterprise College's Squid Game style behaviour system and the decision to close toilets as punishment? That's not discipline, it's dystopia. The real tragedy is that the incredible local connections and community-driven lessons that once made island education so special have been replaced by off-the-shelf, bought-in schemes written hundreds of miles away. Gone are the lessons rooted in our own heritage, environment and creativity, the things that once helped children take pride in being from here. It's no wonder our young people struggle to feel pride or ambition when they see statistics that brand their schools among the country's worst. But don't blame the teachers. Across the island, dedicated staff are doing everything they can to inspire and support students, despite crushing workloads, constant policy changes and dwindling morale. These teachers don't need more targets, they need trust. Trust them to do what's right for their pupils. Give them the creative freedom to teach, not just to tick boxes. The Isle of Wight has had a problem with education for many years. The catastrophic decision to scrap middle schools and switch to a two-tier model has left chaos and confusion in its wake. Last year's farce over school closures only deepened the despair among staff and parents alike. It's time for a radical rethink. Let's take back control of our schools. Let's return to a locally led model, with teachers and the community shaping a curriculum that's relevant to our island and its young people. Put arts, creativity, and local culture back at the heart of learning. Let's see children's work proudly displayed, again on walls that burst with colour, imagination and self-expression, not motivational posters about resilience and grit. Children on this island should be proud to learn here. They should love going to school. They should be inspired by teachers who are trusted to bring lessons alive, not chained to data targets and spreadsheets. And as a creative person myself, I can't ignore the devastating decline in art subjects. Creativity isn't an extra, it's the foundation of innovation, confidence and community. Without it, education becomes mechanical and joyless. Too many children are being treated like statistics rather than individuals, and too many teachers are being turned into administrators rather than educators. I don't have the answers. Someone once drunkenly told me, "You're not the Che Guevara of education," and I definitely don't claim to be. But this is something we should all be talking about, something we should all be worrying about, and something we should all be clambering to change. The Isle of Wight can lead the way again by trusting its teachers, celebrating creativity, and putting heart back into our schools.
Being leader of the council isn't for the faint-hearted, by Phil Jordan, leader of the Isle of Wight Council. Being leader of the Isle of Wight Council isn't for the faint-hearted. Every decision is scrutinised, every delay noticed, and every success quietly expected. I am that person that gets the blame. But that's fine. It means people care, and that passion for our island is what keeps me going. Let's tackle the subject that never quite leaves the slipway, the floating bridge. Yes, it's been a bumpy crossing at times, and that's putting it politely. But the problems have been faced head-on. Repairs, management and maintenance are now under tighter control than ever before. The goal is simple. Replacing the vessel has become a priority, providing a reliable service that quietly does its job, day in and day out, without making the headlines. Islanders deserve that, and that's what we're working for. Another priority, though less visible, is adult social care. It is the backbone of our community. Behind every care package or support plan is a real person, a parent, a neighbour, a friend. Nationally, social care is underfunded and overburdened. But here we're doing everything possible to protect frontline services and invest in people's dignity and independence. Every pound spent on care is a pound spent keeping our community strong and looking after your loved ones. Then there's the Fair Funding Review. This one really matters. The Isle of Wight has been consistently shortchanged by national funding formulas that treat us as though we're just another mainland county. We're not. It costs more to deliver services when every lorry, visitor, resident and business has to cross the Solent. Fair funding isn't special treatment. It's recognising that island life brings unique costs. We're fighting hard in Westminster for that recognition, and we'll keep fighting until it's delivered. Leadership for me isn't about party lines or political point scoring. It's about being honest, listening carefully, and acting in the island's best interests, even when the choices are tough. People want to see straight answers, not spin. They want a council that fixes problems, not one that explains them away. With proper island funding, we can achieve that. We won't always get everything right, but you'll always know where we are. This is our island, and my job is to put it first, always.
We now have What's On. Records Office closed. The Isle of Wight County Records Office will be closed from Monday, October 20th until late November for essential maintenance. A limited inquiry service will operate during this time, though copying facilities will be unavailable. Catalogues and some other records remain accessible via iw.observer/record office, along with further information about the closure.
Shanklin Theatre, events for October. Friday the 17th, New Almond Corner, bringing on back the 60s. Wednesday the 22nd, the Island Savoyards presents Annie. Thursday 23rd, Friday the 24th, Saturday the 25th and Sunday the 26th is the Island Savoyards presents Annie. Tuesday the 28th, Shanklin Theatre Family Experience, and Wednesday the 29th, Albert Lee 2025. Box office 01983 868 000 or book online www.shanklintheatre.com.
On Tuesday the 4th of November, the Isle of Wight Arts Society lecture is at 2 p.m. at Northwood House. It's the Bloomsbury Group, The Art of Vanessa Bell a talk by Julia Musgrave. The Arts Society isleofwight.org.uk 297270 is the link for further information.
Diabetes drop-in. Anyone living with diabetes or supporting someone who is invited to a friendly, no-pressure drop-in session hosted by the Diabetes Group Isle of Wight on Tuesday, October the 21st from 1 p.m. till 3 p.m. at St Thomas's Church Hall, High Street, Newport. The informal gathering offers a chance to chat over a cuppa, share experiences, and connect with others who understand life with diabetes. The group meets on the third Tuesday of each month. For more details, email info@diabetesisleofwight.iow.org.uk or call 07415 399 102.
We now have letters to the editor, Bridge Over Troubled Bureaucracy, from David May of Sandown. Dear Editor, in the Isle of Wight Council report on the floating bridge, alternatives are either rapidly dismissed or not even explored, giving the impression that it is designed to predetermine conclusions. It is full of extraneous copy and paste padding without addressing the main issues. The hurried and lazy way it has been compiled is shown by a copy and paste of Yuba Thames Clipper Fast Ferry as their suggestion as a possible alternative to the chain ferry. The public consultation on the River Medina strategy is also very limited in its scope, stating, "We are keen to seek the views of residents, businesses and visitors on the shortlist identified," again demonstrating that decisions have already been made, so limiting public input. There is nothing to show that the reduction in service to the travelling public is going to be improved by the decisions that have clearly already been made and are focused on political expediency. The whole exercise is just a continuation of the fiasco, with Isle of Wight Council officers making behind-the-scenes decisions, handing out insane levels of public money, while still not proactively engaging with the public for long-term solutions. Consultant Sistra have not provided anything new of any substance, just decided in what order to place 5 technical options. This could easily have been done by children of East Cowes Primary School and save the staggering £60,000 paid to Sistra just to tick a procedural box. Whoever approved this payment should be removed from office and these well-needed funds returned.
Thanks to all who gave generously, by Vilma Barraclough from Seaview. The Nettleston and Seaview Community Partnership are very pleased to announce that they are donating £1,000 to the Mountbatten Hospice. They are also delighted to be supporting the Daisy Ring bus which runs from Southampton to the hospital. They are giving them £1,000 too. This is a result of the very successful events that they have organised this year: the May Street Fair, the Party on the Prom and the Summer Fete. Thanks to all for taking part and giving generously.
Praise for A&E from Simon Field of Ryde. On Friday last, I had to take my grandson to A&E following a bad rugby tackle, resulting in what proved to be concussion. The charm, efficiency and speed with which we were seen was impressive. The facilities were clean and fresh, and we met nothing but smiles and kindness. I read lots of poor comments from islanders about our hospital and felt it only fair to praise the excellent service we received. A big thank you, St Mary's, from the patient and me.
Posthumous campaign by Ian McKee from Totland. Many of us, myself included, have been thoroughly enjoying the BBC television series SAS Rogue Heroes, a dramatisation of the founding and early missions of the SAS. One of the major characters is Robert Blair, Paddy Mayne. Paddy Mayne was an extraordinary character, a qualified solicitor and rugby international. He was also one of the bravest and most effective soldiers in the history of warfare. He was personally credited with the destruction of over 100 enemy aircraft, more than any RAF pilot. He and his comrades attacked airfields on foot and via jeeps, laid explosives, and took and returned fire with the enemy. For his valour, Paddy Mayne was awarded the Distinguished Service Order 3 times. The Distinguished Service Order, DSO, is a military award of the United Kingdom, as well as formally throughout the Commonwealth, awarded for operational gallantry for highly successful command and leadership during active operations, typically in actual combat. The DSO is equal in British precedence of military decorations to the Conspicuous Gallantry Cross. For his 4th action of valour, Paddy Mayne was recommended for a Victoria Cross by Field Marshal Montgomery and supported by the King. However, faceless bureaucrats in Whitehall denied this recommendation and had the award downgraded to a 4th DSO. There is a campaign to have Paddy Mayne posthumously awarded the VC in recognition of his exceptional bravery and invaluable contribution to the defeat of fascist East Italy and Nazi Germany. Please write to your MP and have them get behind this campaign and right an historic wrong.
Offline and out of luck from Sonia Scarrett of East Cowes. Dear Editor, for some time I have been saying that people who own a computer have an advantage for getting a doctor's appointment over those that have to phone for one. There are so many people who are elderly that have never owned a computer, so would not have a clue how to get an appointment anyway, other than by phoning or by going to the surgery and asking at the desk. I met an elderly man yesterday who had gone to his surgery to get an appointment, only to be told to go home and phone as they could not give him one. On the news recently it was stated that the government was now pushing for anyone to be able to get an appointment with their GP online. What are old people who don't have a computer supposed to do? This is not fair. We should be looking after our old people much better. So it's goodbye from myself, John.
And goodbye from Mary. The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that.
Hello. As controversy has swirled around the Access to Work scheme, which is designed to help disabled people get jobs and thrive in them, we've been pressing for some time to talk to Minister for Disability and Social Security, Sir Stephen Timms, at the Department for Work and Pensions now wants to talk to us about the statistics surrounding the scheme. So let's hope we both have time to get our messages across and our questions answered. So Stephen, welcome back.
Thank you, Peter.
You're quoted in a disability magazine as having instructed officials to consider applications for access to work support scrupulously. That sounds like code for spending less money to me.
Well, the figures show, the figures we published today, that we're spending more money on access to work. The number of people benefiting from it has gone up by 10% over the last year. And it is a hugely important scheme. It enables tens of thousands of people to be in work who wouldn't otherwise be able to. But we have inherited some quite serious problems with it, and we want to address those and I hope resolve them.
So it is about saving money.
No, and as I say, we're spending more money this year. It's gone up by 10%, these figures show, and 10% more people benefiting from it.
You were always telling people that it was a best kept secret. It shouldn't be a best kept secret, and as many people should know about it and benefit from it as possible.
Yeah, well, there has been a huge surge in demand, so I think people are finding out about it, which is a good thing. But managing the applications is something the department has struggled with. So we've put over 100 extra people on administering Access to Work over the last year and a half or so.
That's because there were a lot of delays, weren't there?
There were a lot of delays, and there still are a lot of delays. So we put a lot more people on it, but the delays are still a problem. So that's why we think we need to rethink Access to Work. We consulted in our green paper earlier in the year on ideas for change. We had nearly 50,000 responses to that green paper. We're working through those at the moment. We've also set up a collaboration committee, as we call it, which is a new idea, but working directly with disabled people with experience of the scheme, on ideas for how we can improve it and overcome these problems.
There seems to be a bit of confusion about that, Stephen, because when we talked to the RNIB last week, they didn't seem to be very sure about whether they were part of these discussions. They obviously want to talk to you. How does the business of talking to organisations and individuals with disabilities and lived experience, how's that actually working?
Well, that is a very important part of what we're doing. And I do talk to the RNIB. If they're keen to talk to me about this, I'm keen to hear from them. But we set up the collaboration committee, which obviously is only, it's a committee, so it's only got a kind of finite number of people on it. But in order to have discussions directly with people affected and with organisations that represent them, and we want to take proper account of their views in coming forward with proposals for reform. And once we've drawn those up, we'll be talking about them and wanting to discuss them very widely.
I mean, I should make it clear, Stephen, we're constantly being told at the moment by you and DWP statements that there have been no changes in operating policy relating to things like eligibility over the last couple of years. So why are we hearing from so many visually impaired people who are saying that on reapplication for existing support, they're often being given less hours of support, less money to pay their support workers, or in some cases having the money for support workers removed altogether?
Well, the policy has not changed at all. What has happened, and I think this is what you're picking up, is that the existing policy, which is published, the guidance which is published, has more consistently applied over the last year or two than was sometimes the case in the past. So it's the current policy, but it's being consistently applied, and sometimes that has meant that things that have been agreed to and accommodated previously have not been on reapplication. So I think that's what you're picking up. But I do want to kind of underline that as these figures show, the number of people being supported on Access to Work and the amount being spent on it has significantly risen this year compared with last. And, we've got to make sure we're doing the best possible job with the resources that are available.
And interestingly, I mean, you'll understand that we In Touch is particularly concerned about visually impaired people. The number is actually quite small, 3,820 in your statistics out earlier today. So we are a fairly small cost on this system.
I mean, that is a fair comment about Access to Work as a whole. The total number of people supported is now just over 70,000 in the most recent year. Now, that's quite a small proportion of the number of disabled people in work. And I think that's one of the questions for the scheme. Is there a way of using the resources available to support a greater number of people? Certainly, we've got to overcome these massive backlogs, the very long waits people have to wait for decisions, and those difficulties. We've got to come forward with proposals to address those. But I think the question of whether more people could be supported is another one we have to reflect on.
So where do you think money's being wasted? Because you obviously think it is somewhere.
I don't think money's being wasted. I think the question is whether we are getting the best possible results from the funding that's been provided. Are there ways that we could do more with that funding? And that is something we have to work out. I wouldn't characterise it as waste. But the question of, are we getting the best we possibly could?
It's also being widely suggested that the government thinks that employers should bear more of the cost of access to work style support. Is that true?
There is a question, I think, about employer responsibility for paying for reasonable adjustments. And there are some employers who pay for it themselves. There are other employers who go to access to work to fund quite similar things. Now, that is a question that we need to think about in our reform proposals, whether we've got the consistency there in approach on the part of employers that we need. As you know, Sir Charlie Mayfield, who used to run John Lewis, has been doing some work for us. And his Keep Britain Working review has been looking at what more employers can do to ensure their employment opportunities are open to disabled people who've been able to work on health grounds in the past. And so this is something that he's been looking at as well. And that's there's got to be part of the solution in the end, I think.
But just on this issue of employers, because I think this is important, it's all very well to say that the Disability Discrimination Act was passed in 1995 and companies have had responsibilities since then to make their premises accessible, etc., which they have. It's right that that's stressed. But is it reasonable to expect an employer faced with a number of good candidates, say for a job, one of whom's visually impaired, who might need a support worker, to employ the visually impaired applicant, however good they are? Or are we saying you get the job and then you tell the employer about the support they're supposed to provide afterwards?
Well, employers have very good experience of employing disabled people. They find disabled people, including people with visual impairments, do a great job. So it's in the employer's interests to make sure that they can open up their opportunities to disabled people as well as everyone else's interests. And I think getting that balance right is an important part of the changes that we need to see in the labour market over the next few years.
So if there have been no changes to operating rules to access to work so far, when can we expect them and what are they likely to be?
Well, I don't yet know what they're likely to be. As I say, we're working through the nearly 50,000 responses that we had to our consultation earlier in the year. We're working with our collaboration committee at the moment. As soon as we've got proposals arising from all of that work, we will be talking about them. I'll be very happy to talk to you about them, Peter, and we'll want to talk about them as widely as we can so everyone has the chance to have their say and we get to the right result in the end.
But can you just give us a rough idea of when it might be? Because the welfare reform changes, we're likely to hear about those later next year, if I've understood this correctly. So you must have a time in view when you'll know when access to work changes can be publicised.
I don't have a specific timetable for it yet. On personal independence payment, the review which I'm going to be leading will be concluded by the autumn of next year, as you say, so in about a year's time. I would expect us to be able to come forward with proposals around access to work before then, but I don't have a precise date about when it'll be.
OK, so Stephen Timms, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Peter.
Next week, we'll be returning to another topic which has been exercising you for most of this year. The changes taking place in the Macular Society, which has probably prompted one of the biggest responses to one story we've ever had. And still, your emails keep coming. This from Margaret Wendels from the Southwell branch of the Society in Nottinghamshire.
It concerns me that people are now talking about withdrawing financial support from the Society. It is a terrible dilemma. I too don't feel I want to put my money into an organisation that has treated so badly people who have helped me in so many ways and whom I consider to be friends. I understand the Society may even be spending my money on legal representation to fight my friends in court and potentially having to pay thousands in rightful compensation. Having said that, I feel the Society should be greater than the few individuals who seem bent on its destruction for reasons which are beyond my understanding. What power do we, the members, have? We can withhold our finances and encourage our group members to do the same, but then we are adding to the problems rather than putting them right. Do they seriously think that removing the area managers fulfills the Society's vision, values and strategy? How confident are they, giving the overwhelming negative feedback, that this constitutes good governance of a charity?
Well, with the second consultation on this now completed, we have invited back Macular Society Chief Executive Ed Holloway next week to find out what conclusions it's reached and how the Society has responded to the concerns so many of you have expressed. Just one more piece of stop press news before we go. The RNIB has recently announced the name of its new chief executive. Simon Antrobus is taking over from Matt Stringer at the beginning of next year. Since 2016, Simon has been CEO of the BBC's Children in Need project, and he has 25 years of experience working within the voluntary sector, including at Parkinson's UK and Scope. We look forward to talking to him about his plans in the near future. Meanwhile, as usual, we want to hear from you. We welcome your questions, your comments, experiences. Email intouch@bbc.co.uk or leave your voice messages on 0161 836 1338. That's it for today from me, Peter White, and producer Beth Hemmings, gearing up for a well-deserved holiday. Goodbye.
Scaffolding and Skips News, week commencing the 17th of October 2025. Newport area, 1 to 8 Maltese Court, O2 Shop, Holyrood Street, Providence Corner Building, Pyle Street and Town Lane elevations, TUI Post Office Lane and 19C Street.
Ryde area, St Mary's Catholic Church, 55 High Street, ex-Barclays Bank, 7 High Street, Ryde Opticians, Union Street, The Heron, Union Street, Superdrug, 30 to 31 High Street, House of Zaba, 12 Union Street, 5 Weeks Road, 9 St Thomas Square, The Star Inn, High Street, Boots, 170 to 172 High Street, and 5 High Street, Bembridge. Ryde area skips, 58 West Street, 86 Newnham Road, Binstead, and The Lodge, Fairy Road, Seaview.
Cowes area, the Portland Inn, Worsley Road, Gurnard, 72A High Street. Cowes area skips, 62 York Street.
Shanklin area, Nationwide, Regent Street, and 10 East Cliff Road.
Ventnor area, Old Town Hall Court, Albert Street, Ashley Villa, Hamborough Road. Ventnor area skips, 1A South Grove Terrace, Woodland Undercliff Drive, St Lawrence.
Brading area, Old Brading Town Hall, High Street, Sandown area, 52 Fitzroy Street.